let's get started on our DIY pocket notebook. Momigami, that is my world. Look at all these papers, and what do you do with them all? Well, I decided I wanted to make a notebook. I've been making little books for quite a while. None seem to satisfy the needs, so let's take a look into making our own. Here's just a few of the notebooks that I've used in the past. Didn't like them, tried to, keep track of stuff on that, didn't work. Made this one out of some, it's like a fabric paper also, sewed the inside, didn't like it. Made this one, I thought, oh, if it's real pretty, I might like it, but it's really cumbersome. So I can use it for other things, but not like a daily notebook. These are some of my dyed papers. Thought that would be fun. Took some more of my dyed papers, made a calendar a couple years ago, and just tried to keep track of some of my notes. Too big, didn't fit, made another calendar, didn't like it. So now here's where we're at. This is the notebook we're going to make. I saw these field notes, love them, love them. Kind of expensive for what I want to use them for. This 3-pack has a blank page, it has a graph page, and it has a line page. And I got all three for almost 14 bucks, which, I mean, it's not bad, but when I have all of this paper here and I could make really cool covers, why not make my own? It's not that hard. So I started out, I made a mock-up based on the size that I wanted to make. I took one of my Momigami sheets and I made a nice little cover. But my insides, I didn't quite like how it came out. And I also used original graph paper. So it's printed on both sides, but it's very thin. And I'm afraid my pens and markers will bleed through. And I didn't like how it didn't go all the way to the very edge of my cover. So I moved on to this one. This cover right here is what I'm going to recreate. I didn't really like how thick a paper. Rather than using 20-pound copier paper, because I went into Canva and I created in Canva my inside cover pages. So you can see I have a little saying here that I like. I have the October calendar, and then back here I put November and December. I did that in Canva, and then I also wanted to do a combination of blank pages, line pages, and graph pages. So what I did, I went into Canva and I created my pages, but I printed this out on 32-pound copier paper, which is nice and thick. It probably won't bleed through, but it seems too thick. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do the same cover because I really love how that looks. And this is a National Geographic Citrusol photograph. The actual page, I took a picture of it, put it in my copier, and then just printed it out. So we're going to work on that. I then went back to Canva and decided I was going to go ahead and print out my pages. So I want to do 48 pages. I have it 2 up. The measurements for my pages are 7 wide by 5.5 high, because then we'll fold it in half and the entire book will be about 3.5 wide by 5.5 inches high. So I printed this on 24 pounds, so it's a little bit thicker, not quite as thick as the 32-pound, and not so thin that I think it's going to bleed through. So I printed my lined pages 2 up. There's nothing on the back, so there's my blank pages. And I've got 3 of these, which we'll cut down. And then I went in to Canva again, and you can just make a free account to make all this stuff. If you're not familiar with Canva and you want me to do a video on how I did all of this, please let me know in the comments. I'm happy to accommodate. I love Canva. I use it every day. So I made a graph paper, again, 7 by 5.5, blank page, and so that's what we're going to work with today. And to make my cover, I have got this paper that I love. It is, if I can find it, oh, here it is. This is 9 by 12, and it's an 80-pound kind of a Bristol. It's not real thick, but it's not real thin. I can put gouache on it. I use it for my origami jewelry because it takes a really nice fold, and you can do so much. You could put gouache on it to make some really pretty designs for your jewelry. So what we're going to do today is I Momigami'd this National Geographic Citrusolve page, printed on my photocopier. I Momigami'd it all up. I love how it's got the textures. And what we're going to do is we're going to glue it down here onto this page because it'll give me a little bit more of a cover on it, because I don't want it real thick, but I don't want it real thin either. I know. I want it just right. So before we start laying out our cover, I just wanted to kind of go over here. There's a grain to paper, the way the paper fibers are laid out. And this paper here, when you fold the paper just a little bit, you feel a little bit of a resistance. And when you fold it this way, there's very little resistance. So the grain is going this way so that when I go to fold it in half, it's going to fold really nice and crisply. So sometimes when you fold against a grain, the paper has a tendency to ripple and just not make a nice crisp fold. So what we're going to do is we'll make sure that we put our paper on here like this, and we're going to cut out our 7 and 5.5 this way so that when we fold, it'll fold real nice. So as I mentioned, you just need regular things right around the house. I'm going to take my PVA glue, which is regular like white glue, and I'm just going to lay this all down. I'm not so worried about getting glue over the edges because we're going to be cutting this out. So I probably should have grabbed a bigger brush, but that's okay. We'll be fine. We'll be fine. So I'm just going to go ahead and get this on here. I'll speed this up so you don't have to be bored watching me glue this down. But basically, I'm just going to make sure I have a nice bit of glue on it so that I can cut it out and make a cover. So here we're going to go ahead and get this all glued down. I'll speed it up so you don't have to be bored watching. So I'm just going to lay it out here. I'm not so worried about it being straight because I'll just be cutting it out from the center anyway. So I don't want to get rid of all of the texture that's in it. So I'm just smoothing it out. I want to make sure it's secured really well. All edges, I can always touch them up, but yeah, that works right there. So not bad. It's pretty well stuck here. We're pretty good. So what we're going to do is we're going to set this aside and let it dry for now and get started on our inside pages. Okay, so what we're going to do now is cut down our paper for the inside of our notebook. I've got a regular 8.5 by 11. This is 24-pound paper because I want to use pens and maybe some markers. So I'm going to measure I laid it out in Canva so that I knew exactly where I needed to cut. So over to here is going to be 7. And then from the very top, because I like to have a little margin at the top where I can put the date, I can put any subject or topic or title that I might want, and it'll go down to about 5.5 down here, and I'll have another place for my dates and anything else that I might want. So we're just going to measure this out right here. We're going to cut it in half first. So it's going to be 5.5. Here, I'll just do the one. And we'll go here at the edge. And that's going to be 5.5. I always double check because sometimes I get confused. So that's 5.5. Okay, so we got that. I'm going to cut all the pages at once. I'm going to lay this down here, make sure they are in place. Lay my ruler down, I have a new blade, and line up my ruler. You got to hold it really tight because it'll want to wander on you because you got to really press hard. I don't always get really clean lines, but I did pretty good here because these are brand new. So I've got 5.5 there, and let's make sure we have 5.5. It might be, yes, it is 5.5. So we're going to go now to 7 across. So we should have a little border on either side. I want to do it at the top here. So we've got 7 right here. And go down here for 7 right here. And just to help it out a little bit, go a little bit here. We got 7 right here. Okay, I'm going to be real brave, and I'm going to try and cut all my pages. That might be kind of silly, but we're going to give it a shot. Why not? So I've got them all aligned pretty well. Lay my ruler down. Line everything up. And we'll be trimming, you know, when you fold papers in half, they have a tendency to all bunch in the center, and we'll probably trim them all down once they're in the cover. So it's not totally imperative that you have everything perfectly square, but there we go. So we've got our pages here. That is my 7. And my 7. Okay, we got our line sheets done. Now we're going to take a look at our graph sheets. I always find it easier to do like the 5.5 because I don't have to make this really, really long run on both sheets. I'm making it a little bit shorter by doing that. So here is, I'm looking at 5.5, 5.5. And 5.5. I think I'm going to do it from the center too, just to be safe. So that's going to be 5.5. Again, I probably moved them a little bit. And lay my ruler down, get it all aligned. There we go. Grab my knife, hold it really tight. And let's see how we're doing. I think I got them almost. Okay, there we go. Got that. It's a little off. You can see the spacing is just a little off. And let's see here. So now we're going to do our 7. I'm going to just, so that I don't miss anything, put that there. And we're going to do our 7 at the top. 7 here, 7 here, and we'll go down to here. Again, we're going to try and cut them all together and see how we do. Okay. There we go. Go right here, fold that up there. There we go. Get my knife, hold it very tightly, and let the blade do the work. I have this on a self-healing mat, so my work surface isn't cut up. There we go. Okay, so we've got our pages cut. We're at 7, and we're at 7. Awesome. Set that aside. And then what we're going to be doing is folding our pages so that we can insert them in our cover when we cut our cover down. Okay, I'm going to show you, we're going to get started on creating our internal pages. We're going to just start folding them and making little signatures out of it. So I just fold it from corner to corner, lay that down, I lay it out. I have a bone folder that I'm going to just go ahead, flatten it out real well. So we have our first grouping. So this will be the inside here. That will be the beginning of my book. So I'll just go ahead, get these done, speed it up so you don't have to be bored watching me. Okay, we've got all of our pages folded and ready to go. But because I want to have, you don't have to do this, I just like it, is I'm going to trim the edges. And I just have a corner cutter, and basically I have, you have a 4mm, 7mm, 10mm. I like the 10mm. I'm going to go ahead and just place it in here and trim the corner off. I just, to me, it's just a nice finished look. I don't make these to sell, but you know, if you were to make them to sell or make them as a gift, you know, that would be really nice. It just makes it a little more finished. Again, we'll just get this done. Okay, now that I've got them all cut out, we're going to go ahead and assemble them together in the order in which I want them. And it's really not that big of a deal. I just have all of my grid. I'm going to put those all together, and then I'll have all my lines over top of that. So I'm just going to assemble all of these together. There we go. And here's what I was talking about. You'll see, if you look right here, we're going to be trimming this off because it's so layered and deep within here. So what happens is they kind of bunch all together and fan out. So we'll end up trimming that off once we get our cover done and get the book assembled. We'll get that cut down and taken care of. Okay, so we're going to cut out, and again, I did this in Canva, found some calendars that I like because I like to break my life down into quarters. So you have your first quarter, second quarter, third quarter. We're now in the fourth quarter, which is October, November, December. It just, then you could have, like, if you wanted, these could be broken down in the quarters. You could have 3 of them or 1 for all 3 months, however you want to do it. I went ahead and put in the lines to cut. It's not quite the 7 by 5.5. It's a little bit shorter than that, just because I don't want it to go all the way to the very edge. It's just going to fit on the inside of the cover. And I don't mind if it has an edge that you can see. I'm not worried about that. So I'm just going to cut this down. There we go. So we got that one done. And again, I pre-measured them so that it makes it a little bit easier. I'm not the best measurer or cutter, so wherever I can make it easier, I try to do that. So, and again, what we're going to do here is we're going to fold this so that it'll fit right within our cover. And we're going to go ahead and trim our edge. There we go. There we go. So we're all ready for when our cover is all dry, we can cut our cover out. So I'm getting ready to cut my cover out, and I went and measured from here down to here. So that's going to be 5.5. So we're going to cut that. It's still a little damp. When you're laying out the Momigami, it is a little more difficult to get precise measurements, just for the sheer fact, if you notice the way I laid it out, this white border is closer to the top than it is here. But I wasn't so concerned with that because I knew that I would be getting inside to cut it out. So I know I can figure it out once it's all cut out. I can get everything measured out and okay. So now we cut that 5.5. We're cutting it from the tip top here to 5.5 right there. So the top will be coming off a little bit. And then I want to make it 7. And I saw that I like having this color here. So I'm having it just a little bit out of the color. And so there's my 7 there. There's my 7 there. Let's see here. It's just a little off, but not bad. There we go. And what I'm going to do, because I know these are straight edges, I am going to see if I can align my edge to this ruler here, make it as straight as I possibly can, and then I want to align this mark with this mark. And again, there's some guesswork. I'm not looking for perfection. If I was to sell these, I would probably do it a little bit different, but for myself, I can then just line up with that line and know that I'm going to have a fairly straight cut on that piece right there. Okay, so I've got that one. And then I have another line right here. Again, this is a fairly straight top. I know I haven't cut anything from it. And I've aligned this with this line right here. So I can line that up and cut it at the 7. And knowing I'm going to be trimming it again, so that helps. There we go. So we've got that taken care of. And then we're going to measure our 5.5 and cut the top off. So 5.5 right here and 5.5 let's see here, right there. So I can just line this up right here because I think I can see where my lines are. Where did I put that line? There it is, right there. There it is. Sometimes it's harder when you are working in the dark. So I'm just going to align that and align that. I still like to get it as closely as I can. So, and then, yeah, I'm in an awkward spot. So we'll cut that out. And now we've got our cover. It's a little crooked, but we'll fix that. It's a little crooked, but we'll get it. It's, yeah, a little short of 5.5. But the 7 is good, and the 7 is good. So I'm going to go ahead and trim my corners. It's easier to have all your corners taken care of prior to assembling. Yep. There we go. Right here that I'm going to work with. Let's see what we got. I think I'm going to fold this in half and then assemble it that way, since I already folded the other. It might not line up absolutely perfect, but it's not bad. It's going to be trimmed down, so we're not too bad here. So I'm just going to fold that over a little bit. There we go. There we go. Grab my bone folder, fold this over here, and we're going to go ahead and just flatten that out. Flatten that out. We'll be trimming it out. So now we have a nice crease. We can take and place this right in here. And it fits pretty nice. It fits pretty nice. So what we're going to end up doing is gluing this in to the center and letting it dry. All right, I got this all glued. I want to make sure that it's going in the right direction. So I've got this right here. And let's see what we got here. It's looking pretty good. Pretty even. There we go. There we go, yes. That looks pretty good. You want to be careful not to have any glue sticking out or your pages will stick together. So, okay, so we got our inside cover glued down. I noticed I have a little bit of my black marks. I probably should have trimmed those off, but learn from my mistake. that you can see here. I've got a little bit of the black, so, but you know, it is just for me. I'm not going to be selling it or anything. I'm just using it to see how I like having the size, because it's a really handy size and it fits into your wallet or into your purse really nice. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry, and then next step is going to be adding our internal pages. Okay, so I've slipped all of my pages into the cover and everything is pretty well centered. I want the top to be fairly flush. I've got everything secured, and my stapler has a depth so that this will just bump right up to it and I can get right to the center. It might not be absolutely exact, but again, like I said, I'm not selling these. These are for my use only, so I'm not as particular, but they still look nice and they still work great. So I'm going to go ahead and just secure these back pages and lay this out here, bring my stapler down, and I'm not measuring, I'm just going to eyeball it, but you can measure it if you'd like and make sure that you're right exactly in the center. And then I just staple. There we go. Oh, a little off, but it's perfect on here. So anyways, okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I got like maybe an inch from there. There we go. Go right here, same distance. If I measured, then I could have gotten more exact. But still, it came out as a nice darn notebook. And we'll trim it up and we'll be done with our notebook. How nice is that? So I've got a blank page, I've got lined, and I can go through here. I've got graph paper, I've got more blank paper, I've got more lined. So I don't know, something to just stick in my purse and carry along with me. I love it. So okay, the next step is just going to be cleaning up the edges and we'll be done. All right, we're going to go ahead and trim up our book. And I did put a new blade in because I want it to be as sharp as it possibly can be when I start to trim through all of this paper. I'm going to go to the very, very edge of my cover, and all I want to really do is start cutting the internal pages, the ones that are outside of the cover. So I'm just going to slowly see how they peel away. There we go. Let's see here. And there we go. That's all nice and flush right there. Got that right there. Move that out of the way. Do the same thing with the bottom. Get it really close to the cover. Don't really want to cut the cover, but if I do, that's okay too. And because I have a very fresh, brand new blade, it just makes it a lot easier to cut through everything because I don't want to ruin it. So I'm just holding it real tight and making long, strong cuts. There we go. There we go. And I can probably just cut around this. Just a little bit. You got to be very careful with the knife though. You got to be very careful, especially if you have a brand new blade on it. So there we go. We'll go ahead and do, looks like we need to do the back though. It looks like I didn't quite get it exact, but we'll go ahead and do it, whatever. We'll just cut her down, and it may shorten her, but that's okay. This is just for me. This will give you an idea of making your own notebook. I think it has something to do with the thicker paper because I'm not using just a 20-pound bond. That 24 pound definitely added bulk, and that's okay. I don't mind. There we go. Got just a little more to go. We'll just cut that right off. There we go. All right, it's shaping up real nice. We'll go ahead and do the back here. And just get that trimmed down a little bit. Again, be very careful with your sharp knife. It's so easy to slip. There we go. I do like them when they're all flush. There we go. See how they just kind of popped? There we go. Okay. I'll trim this. I've not ever had to do it like this much. I've only had to do like a side and a bottom. I've never had to do all of this. But hey, it goes to show you, you know, you never know how it's going to turn out. Here you go. We've got ourselves a handmade pocket notebook. Oops, I got this. There we go. Inspired by field notes. I hope you give the project a try, and I would love to hear your thoughts and what you think. If you need any help or have any questions, please leave them in the comments. And some other thoughts that could be very cool that I'm thinking about doing is I tried Momigami with acrylic ink, and I did it on some paper. I thought it turned out really cool. I thought it might be fun to do another notebook and fold over, get those circle Velcro, and then you could make a closure. I don't know. I haven't decided yet if that's what I want to do, but just there's so many things that you can do that I love Momigami. I love being able to dye paper and being able to experiment with everything. So I hope you enjoy this project. Give it a try. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.